Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jalen, and today I'm going over 25 books that are coming out in 2022 that I am very excited for. So I was going through some lists that have come out recently of books that are coming out next year, trying to figure out what I want to pre-order, what I want to put in requests for galleys, and I have a list of 25 books here that are coming out generally in the first half of the year, and I want to tell you all about them, put some books on your radar, and start getting excited about next year. There's a lot of good stuff coming out next year, so let's just jump into it. We have 25 books to cover. So, I'm going to go in chronological order of when they're being released. So I'm starting as soon as January 4th. We have The School for Good Mothers by Jessamine Chen. This is a book that's been on my list for a while now. It's been getting a lot of hype over the last 6 months, I want to say. It's a debut novel. One lapse in judgment lands a young mother in a government reform program where custody of her child hangs in the balance. So I think this one is a bit of a dystopian vibe about motherhood and parenting. I've seen some exciting blurbs about it, and so this one I think is going to be everywhere. I can see this maybe becoming a movie. This is kind of like the literary thriller coming out early in the year that I think is going to be everywhere on Bookstagram and BookTube. So should be good for when I'm wanting a romp. Okay, next up we have Fiona and Jane by Jean Chen Ho. This one is dubbed as a witty, warm, and irreverent book that traces the lives of two young Taiwanese American women as they navigate friendship, sexuality, identity, and heartbreak over 2 decades. I love books about friendship, and I feel like I don't read enough of them. And so this one, I saw some blurbs from Alexander Hsieh, I believe Charles Yu, I want to say. I think Kathy Parkong as well. This one to me is giving National Book Award vibes, and so I'm very hyped for it, and I love this cover as well. So I'll definitely be picking that one up early next year. Okay, next we have High Risk Homosexual by Edgar Gomez. This one comes out January 11th. This one is his memoir about embracing a gay Latinx identity against a culture of machismo. So I guess he talks about his experiences with bathhouses, nightclubs, and drag queens who helped redefine pride, which I'm obsessed with drag queens. I'm obsessed with everything that's presented here. So I feel like this is going to be right up my alley, and I can't wait to dive into this one. I have a copy of it waiting on my Kindle as well, so I'll probably be reading that one soon, probably early next year. Next up, I have Devil House by John Darnielle. This one's out January 25th. This one is about a true crime writer who I think he moves into this house in which murders have occurred in the past. And I think that's all I know about it. I think the cover is giving it more horror than it actually is from what I've seen. I've seen good mixed, but mostly good things about his work. So this one, it's a little bit of a risk for me. I'm wondering where I'm going to land on it, just given some of the more mixed things that I've seen. But for this one, I've seen some praise, and it sounds interesting. And I like books about writing and writers, and this sounds cool. A writer moving into a house and investigating some murders, but it's kind of literary as well. So I guess we shall see. Okay, next up, I have Vladimir by Julia May Jonas. This is a book I already read, and I absolutely adore it. It would be in my top 10 of the year if I was including 2022 releases in my top 10 this year, but I'm not. I'm going to save it for next year, just so people can actually purchase the books that I talk about or pick them up or whatever when I upload those videos soon. But this one is about a small liberal arts college, and we follow this professor who is married to another professor, and he comes under heat because a bunch of students have come forward saying that he was sexually abusive or coerced them into having sexual relations with him. And also a new novelist comes to the school, and the wife, who is the narrator, she becomes obsessed with him, and you see how she's kind of complicit or thinks that the women are also to blame for what happened to them with her husband, in kind of this messy triangle square actually relationship entanglement that happens. It's a lot about writing, about novels, open marriages that get quite messy. It was so good. It was such a romp. By the end of it, I had no idea where it was going, and it really surprised me, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I was posting about it a ton. This is one I definitely want to revisit next year and probably do an individual book review for, because I thought it was so smart, so fun. This is written by a playwright. This is her debut book. She has an MFA in playwriting, and so you can really tell by the way she sets scenes here that it's a really interesting first foray into novel writing as well, in terms of a lot of the scenes here are clearly depicted, in my opinion. So, okay, next up, another book I've already read, but you need to read. It is Pure Color by Sheila Heti, out February 15th. This is the book, when I read it, it was one of the most enjoyable experiences I've ever had reading a book, in my life. I read it very quickly. It's a short little book, but it's a very philosophical look at grieving and what it means to be a part of this current existence that we're in which a lot of things seem imperfect. There's so much despair and just horribleness about this first draft of existence. So this book is really looking at the ways in which humanity and its failings kind of play into individual grief, and the ways that we look at this one character and she loses her dad, and you see her also navigating a queer relationship with a woman and how all this plays together. This book gets a little bit experimental and a little wild. I was talking to Rebecca from Rebecca Eats Books, and I was saying, like, Sheila Heti dropped some shrooms and wrote a banger, and that's kind of what this book feels like. So if that sounds good, it's like philosophical stuff. It is, you have to be in the right mind frame for it, because it's a little weird. It's not really clear sometimes what's going on, but if you really sit with it, and if you love, strong prose and writing and insights over everything, then I think this book will be for you. Okay, next up I have The Swimmers by Julie Otsuka. This is, I guess she's a writer that is quite praised. I have never read her stuff before, but this is her first book in I think a while. But it says this is a book about what happens to a group of obsessed recreational swimmers when a crack appears at the bottom of their local pool. And then I think from there it focuses on one of the swimmers who is suffering from dementia and thinking about her childhood and the Japanese internment camp in which she spent the war. And it's narrated from that woman's daughter. I think this is a lot about mother-daughter relationships, and it's quite a short book. I have the e-galley of it, and it seems quite brisk and short. So I'm excited to read that one and see what the hype is about for her. Next up, I have Groundskeeping by Lee Cole. This one came onto my radar because Brandon Taylor tweeted about it when he got a galley. And in the tweet, if I'm recalling correctly, Brandon Taylor really praised his writing generally. And so I guess this one is a love story set in the foothills of Appalachia about two very different people, Owen from Kentucky and Alma, the daughter of Bosnian immigrants, navigating the entanglements of class and identity in America coming apart at the seams. So contemporary love story, strong writing. I'm excited for it. Next up, I have Checkout 19 by Claire-Louise Bennett. This is a book I already own. I bought it when I went to Amsterdam back in August, and it comes out March 1st in the United States. And this one is, I think, an ode, somewhat autofictional book about reading and books and literature. And I think it gets kind of experimental and a little bit weird in terms of how it's told. I think she has a very unique style from what I've seen from blurbs. I've never read her before, but I'm excited to check this out because I love books about books. So very excited. Next up, I have The Doloriad by Missouri Williams. This is one of the smaller imprints within FSG that tends to publish a lot of books that I really like. Usually a lot of like weird dark fiction, so more like a horror bent in this imprint that I really tend to enjoy. So I'm excited for this one, and I just got a galley of it, and I'm so excited. So I guess this follows I think it's post-apocalypse vibes, and we follow a certain family that's incestuous. I think this is dubbed as a gothic and strange, moving and disquieting, and often hilarious. And I saw it has a blurb from Mary South, who I really enjoy, and she compared it to Geek Love by Catherine Dunn, which is another book I think about a strange family. And I'm just excited to see how dark and weird this one gets, so we will see. Next up, I have In the Margins, On the Pleasures of Reading and Writing by Elena Ferrante. This I'm just excited about because I love books about reading and writing and essays about being a reader, as that is something I do on a usually daily basis, so that will be a fun one for sure. I know a lot of Ferrante heads are on BookTube, so definitely add this to your list if you didn't know it was coming out already. It sounds quite good. Next up, I have Disorientation by Elaine Chou. This one, I think, is a DWM, Depressed Women Moving novel, about a Taiwanese-American woman that is a satire, and I think it's a campus novel about white supremacy within academia. It sounds very good. It's quite a big book. I have a galley of it back there. I think it's quite long, so I'm excited for it, but we love a diverse DWM, so I'm very excited for it, and the cover is lovely as well. Next up, I have Hsieh of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. This one's out April 5th. I've only read The Glass Hotel from her, but she is the author of the very famous Station 11, which just started airing on HBO, the TV show version of it. And I didn't absolutely love The Glass Hotel. I felt kind of like a boring story to me overall, but I loved the writing, and so this one sounds really good, and I want to try another of hers, so this will be the one I try next. It is a novel of art, time, love, and plague that takes the reader from Vancouver Island in 1912 to a dark colony on the moon 300 years later, unfurling a story of humanity across centuries and space. So it seems like she is maybe doing a foray back into some of the themes of Station 11, but still I'm expecting strong writing as I saw in The Glass Hotel, so I'm excited for that one. Next up, I have Young Mungo by Douglas Stuart. I have not read Shuggie Bain, but that book is kind of what brought the book hotties together when it was announced as the Booker Prize winner back in 2020. Is that right? What is time? I don't know what time is. But this one, I think, all I know, it's a queer love story about two men, and I saw how much praise that book got. I didn't really want to read it. It seemed quite bleak and devastating. I haven't really been in the mood for something like that at the moment, but this one, I want to read more queer books, and this is a love story, and I tend to like those in lit fic, so we'll see how that one goes. Next, I have Time as a Mother by Ocean Vuong. This is his new poetry collection. I loved On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, and so I want to read this one. I don't often read poetry, but I've been kind of surprised this year. I've enjoyed it when I've read it, so I'm excited to try for some from him as well. Next, I have a book from an indie press, I think. This is an indie press, called Revenge of the Scapegoat by Caren Beilin, I believe. And all I know about this is it's a DWM that's also rooted in chronic illness. And I think it's a takedown of like art, I believe. Yeah, so she's an adjunct at a city arts college, and then she receives a package of letters that her father wrote to her in her teens, in which she is blamed for her family's crises. So she's dubbed the scapegoat of her family, and then she flees to the countryside. From there, it gets weird and surreal and absurdist, I think. So that one sounds fun. Next up, I have Post Traumatic by Chantal V. Johnson. This one comes out April 5th as well, so this is a big pub day. For sure. I think I have like 5 or 6 books on here. So this one is about a young Black Latinx lawyer who is confronting her dark past. So love that. I am also a lawyer. I am also Latinx. And it's a debut about, coping with trauma, being a lawyer. And so it seems like another DWM that I'm super stoked for. Next up, I have Trust by Hernan Diaz. This is an author that I have never read before, but the hype and praise that I've seen from this from so many of my favorite authors on Twitter in the blurbs, it's kind of unreal, and it seems like this one's going to be a major prize contender. I don't really know what it's about too much, but I guess it's about wealth and talent, trust and intimacy, truth and perception, and I've seen buzz, so now I want to read it. If you know more about this book, let me know. But Riverhead Books just denied my NetGalley request, so you won't be getting any advanced reviews from me on this one, but I'm still excited for it. Next up, I have Acts of Service by Lillian Fishman, out also on May 3rd. This one, CJ already read it from NetGalley. I also have it on NetGalley. I saw a Raven Leilani blurb, and I think she dubbed it like a queer 50 Shades of Grey that she thinks is going to be like quite the buzzy book on Book Talk. So it sounds fun to me. It sounds like a romp, so I will be reading it. Next, I have the new Elif Batuman book. I have not read The Idiot, but this is the sequel to it. And so with the sequel coming out soon, I think it'll push me to read The Idiot finally, see what all the hype is about, and then read the sequel. So, Idiot fans, new book coming your way. Next, I have a book I'm so excited about. It's called The Novelist by Jordan Castro. This one's out from Soft Skull Press, which is a smaller press that I really like. This one is autofiction about a young man over the course of a single morning as he fails to write an autobiographical novel based on his own heroin addiction and recovery, finding himself drawn into the infinite spaces of Twitter, quotidian rituals, and his own mind. So a spiraling man writing some autofiction. It's called The Novelist, about the internet. This sounds very, very similar to Fake Account, which is my favorite book of the year. Spoiler alert, I haven't put out my list yet, but it's my favorite. So I'm excited to see where this one goes. Next up, the number one book I am most excited for is Lepvona by Otessa Moshfegh. She is my favorite writer, and I read everything by her, and I currently have an e-galley sitting on my Kindle, but I haven't been able to bring myself to read it because I know if I read it, I will be out of Moshfegh, and also I'm crossing my fingers for a print copy for my first experience reading the book. I'm weird and like ritualistic about certain things like that. But I've been almost picking it up every time I want a new book, so I might just do it over the next week or two, but we'll see. This is a foray into historical fiction for her. She wrote this over during quarantine, and so I'm really excited to see her dabble into something new. So we will see. It sounds like a different book for her, but I'm excited to see where she goes with it. So I don't know if I said this already. The Novelist is out June 14th. Lepvona is out June 21st. Next, I have Schmutz by Felicia Berliner. That is out July 19th. Short little synopsis that I have sold me on it. It says, in this witty, provocative, and unputdownable debut novel, a young Hasidic woman on a quest to get married fears she will never find a groom because of her secret addiction to porn. And it also had blurbs from Raven Leilani and Disha Filia, author of The Secret Lives of Church Ladies, which I loved. So that, I'm just like, I need it immediately. It sounds so good. And this cover is amazing. I love it. Next up, I have Mother in the Dark by Kayla Mayuri. This one's out August 9th. And this is a friend of mine on the internet. I met her through TikTok. She's been on Book Talk for a while, but her debut novel is coming out from Riverhead Books in August. And her taste is impeccable. She reads a lot of the same books as that I do. And so I'm very excited to see her write a novel. I've never really had like an internet friend that's publishing a novel like this. Or I've talked to writers after I've already read their books, but this is kind of like a reverse situation. I'm just excited for her. And this one's about family secrets and a volatile relationship between a mother and her daughters. So you know me, I love a fraught mother-daughter parent-child relationship, and I think given her literary interests, I think this is going to be incredible. So we will see. And then finally, I have Paul by Daisy Lafarge. This one's out August 16th in the United States. This one's already been out in the UK for a while now. And this one came strongly recommended to me from Hannah. This is, I think, in the vein of books like Acts of Desperation by Megan Nolan and Magma. I blanked on the author's name. But I think this is a book about power imbalances in a toxic relationship with gorgeous writing. And Hannah recommended it, so I will be reading it this year for sure. Wow, that was a whirlwind. I hope you enjoyed this list of 25 books. I didn't really give too deep of a dive into them as I have not read them, but I hope this gives you a taste of what I will be reading next year. Let me know if there's anything that's coming out next year that's I didn't list here and you think I would like it or you're excited for it. Let me know in the comments. I would love to keep my list growing, and I find that a lot of these lists that I find don't cover everything that comes out, and so I'm always surprised as things come up throughout the year of books that are releasing. But if you know of any, let me know. But yeah, anyways, I will catch you in the next one. Bye.